If you've ever noticed that you feel strangely exhausted after spending time with people, even people you like, you might have wondered why. The conversation itself may have been fine. Nobody argued, nothing dramatic happened. And yet when you get home, you feel drained, mentally tired, sometimes even a little irritable or oddly quiet. You might assume it's because you're shy or that you're just not a social person. But that explanation misses something deeper, because for many people, the real reason isn't social skill at all. It's a nervous system that never fully relaxes around other people. When someone has this trait, social interaction doesn't just involve talking and listening. Their mind is also scanning facial expressions, scanning tone of voice, scanning small shifts in energy in the room. They notice when someone pauses for half a second too long before replying. They notice when a smile looks slightly forced. They notice when the mood of the group subtly changes. And most of the time, they notice these things automatically. Not because they want to, because their brain learned that paying attention to people very closely was important for emotional safety. This can show up in small behaviors most people don't even think about. For example, rereading a message before sending it several times. Not because the words are wrong, but because you're imagining how the other person might interpret them. Or replaying a conversation in your mind later, wondering if something you said sounded strange. You might also find yourself adjusting your personality depending on who you're with. A little quieter here, a little more agreeable there, a little more careful with certain people. From the outside, it can look like politeness, but internally, it feels more like constant awareness. And when awareness stays high for a long time, it takes energy, a lot of energy. Imagine your nervous system as a security system. For some people, that system is relaxed around others. It turns on only when something clearly feels wrong. But for others, the system stays partially activated the entire time. Not in panic mode, just alert, always monitoring. And even if nothing bad happens, the monitoring itself is tiring. People with this pattern often grow up being very perceptive of emotional environments. They learn early that small signals matter. A change in tone might mean someone is upset. A certain expression might mean tension is building. Silence might mean something is wrong. So their brain becomes extremely good at reading people, which can look like emotional intelligence. And in many ways it is. But emotional intelligence sometimes comes with a hidden cost: constant vigilance. And here's where it gets interesting. Most people think feeling drained after socializing is about introversion. But this pattern isn't really about being introverted. It's about how safe your nervous system feels around other humans. If your system learned that social environments require careful attention, it doesn't fully switch off. Even during normal conversations, you're listening, but you're also interpreting. You're laughing, but part of your mind is checking if everyone else is comfortable. You're speaking, but another part of your brain is analyzing how your words might land. All of that happens quietly in the background. And because it's subtle, people often misunderstand themselves. They think they're bad at socializing, or they assume they just don't enjoy people very much. But the truth is often different. It's not that you dislike people. It's that interacting with them requires more mental processing than it does for others. Another sign of this trait is how quickly your energy returns when you're alone. After socializing, you might need silence, not because you're upset, but because your nervous system is finally allowed to relax. No scanning, no interpreting, no subtle emotional calculations, just quiet. And interestingly, people with this pattern are often the ones others describe as easy to talk to. They listen carefully, they notice feelings quickly, they adjust their responses thoughtfully. From the outside, it looks effortless, but internally, there's a lot happening beneath the surface. That's why the exhaustion can feel confusing. Nothing obviously stressful happened. The interaction may have even been enjoyable, but your nervous system was working the entire time. Once you start noticing this pattern, a lot of past experiences suddenly make more sense. Why certain social situations left you unusually tired. Why being around very expressive or unpredictable people can feel especially draining. Why calm, predictable environments feel strangely comforting. Because what your mind has been searching for all along isn't less people, it's less uncertainty. And when you understand that, something shifts. You stop interpreting your exhaustion as weakness or social failure. You start seeing it for what it really is. A nervous system that learned to stay alert around others. And once you see that pattern clearly, you start understanding yourself in a completely different way. Because it was never random. It was always your mind trying to keep you safe.